And welcome into the Tuesday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. Joseph, good morning. How are you?
Doing okay. Story that I started working on in April is published today at The Athletic. So, that doesn't mean it's like really, really good or like 17,000 words long, but it's one of those things that it's nice to see. And I got to say, it's about Finebaum. And when you click on it, when you look at that picture of him, college Finebaum at UT, my goodness, man. Talk about a flowing mane of just gorgeous hair, which we'll have to ask him about later this hour.
Well, we will have Paul Finebaum on our program today at 6:45. So obviously very much looking forward to that. We will get into Joe's story. We will get into, obviously, all things college football with him as well. Holy crap.
Right? Look at this. Look at this. That's Finebaum.
You're watching the video stream right now.
If you're watching the video stream, I'm putting out
there's an absolute treat that Rexrode is throwing out there. Ian Safar, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing great. Looking forward to reading that whole piece, Joe. Very nicely done.
Well, it might, and hold on now. It may not be nicely done. I appreciate that, but it might be.
Yeah, what if he gets on here and he reads it this morning
done,
and he's like, Joe, this sucked. Like, this is terrible.
No, that's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either.
But. No, it's funny because I said to him, I don't know when it publishes. Might be better if it publishes after you come on, or else we're going to have a fiery segment tomorrow. So,
Joe, just got done reading this. Not very good.
You son of
Thanks,
a bitch.
Thanks, Paul.
Did you know Joe writes for The Athletic?
There we go.
So we will get into that later this hour at 6:45. With Paul Finebaum. So very much looking forward to that. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025. We'll get into some comments from Clark Lee and Diego Pavia from SEC Media Days a little bit later this hour as well. All sorts of news items / rumors flying around SEC Media Days yesterday too. So we will get into all that throughout the program here today as well. And who knows, by the end of the show, Joe, maybe Nick Saban will be back coach.
Yeah, or maybe it'll be a big nothing burger that someone cooked for everybody and just dropped on the floor. Like, what?
Oh, what? Really? Okay.
It's a nothing burger. You said it.
Doesn't mean anything.
There we go.
Just absolutely beautiful. We begin on the Tennessee Volunteers, who we'll be hearing from later today at SEC Media Days. Josh Heupel and company will be there, and it is going to be interesting to see how they're viewed, when they get through all this and the media comes out with their voting and all that stuff. What are the expectations going to be for Tennessee? We had Adam Sparks from the Knoxville News Sentinel on yesterday, and there's a lot to kind of sort through with this Tennessee team because you look at them on the offensive side of the ball, and obviously the first thing that jumps out is, all right, well, who in the world is playing quarterback and how well are they going to play it when they're the starting quarterback? And we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. But I look at the offense as a whole, and you've got some new faces on the offensive line. As you heard Adam Sparks say yesterday, you're probably going to have a true freshman starting at right tackle based on where they're at with their offensive line right now, which may be a really good thing, maybe a really bad thing. We'll see what happens on the David Sanders front. The one that I look at right now, and I just really have questions about what they're going to be, is their wide receiver group. And everybody feels good about Mike Matthews, and I do too. He's a 5-star player. I think we saw some very limited flashes last year from him, but there's high expectation on him this year. They've talked a lot about Braylon Staley in the slot, but he's not played very much. He got in the college football playoff game basically out of necessity at the end of it, but he's not played a whole lot. And beyond that, it's like Chris Brazzell, who I thought was pretty underwhelming last year, save for one catch against Alabama, and then a bunch of guys after that. So what's that going to mean for their offense? Well, we asked Adam Sparks about their wide receiver group yesterday, and here's what Adam Sparks had to say.
I'm a little concerned for them at wideout at the beginning of the year. I'm much, much more concerned with them at wideout like 2/3 of the way through the year. I just think these numbers, this is going to be a problem. I mean, if Matthews is really good, let's say Braylon Staley is solid at the slot. Chris Brazel is, last year he was okay. He was serviceable at best. Let's say he's a little better. Okay, well, you got those three. You can look at any of these seasons under Josh Heupel or any seasons in football of the last 50 years, and you say, are your three wideouts going to be healthy the whole season? No, they're not. One of them's going to get hurt. Another's going to get banged up and be limited. And at that point, you're going to, after them, it's freshmen. It's freshmen and an injured Alabama transfer, Amari Jefferson. And so I just think those numbers could be an issue when you get into October, November. To start the year, I think Matthews is good. He's going to be good. He'll be better than what we saw flashes of last year. They like Braylon Staley at slot, just from what they've seen in practice. Also, I think slot is in that offense. You're going to get a lot of touches. It's just a matter of catching the ball. And so I think Staley will be whoever's in the slot, and it'll be Staley to begin with. Whoever's in that spot will slide into it pretty easily. That's a position that just produces in this offense.
So, Joe, what do you make of where they're at wide receiver and the youth that they've got in those spots heading into this year? I mean, if you look at it, like Chris Brazel is like the grizzled vet. That's about it when it comes to the experience at their wide receiver group. So what do you make of where they're at on that front?
Yeah, it's man, they needed another guy in the portal for sure. Maybe two, but they needed another guy in the portal for sure. Because I don't think that Josh Heupel's, the thing is, like Mike Matthews this year could prove this. I think it's true anyway. And if he does prove it, you want it proven if you're a Vols fans. It means he's really good this year. But I don't think it matters how good you are as a freshman. Josh Heupel's not using you. Now if it's actually that Mike Matthews, he wanted to play him last year, and Mike Matthews isn't all he's cracked up to be, well, then that's another problem entirely. But I look at Travis Smith or Darius Jackson, these guys, I don't consider them factors. So then you get into, Amari Jefferson, you got Boo Carter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's your depth. That's probably your top, right? Like your top two after the top three. And yes, Josh Heupel definitely likes to go with three. So maybe it's just a really good three and he's fine. But like Sparks said, you're counting on them to stay healthy and all that all year. It's amazing, like how they used to have a surplus not long ago. I swear, like Lee Cock is
Nimrod.
Purdue and Nimrod.
Yeah.
Where'd
Caleb
Nimrod
Webb.
go?
Yep.
Yeah, Webb, Nimrod. This should be the year where at least one of those guys, if not two of those guys, is ready. You know, but that is the era we're in, where again, like how much did Purdue go after Lee Cock? I mean, I have no idea.
By the way, Chaz Nimrod down there in South Florida with Alex Golish.
With Golish, yeah. So Nimrod's down there. Yeah, you feel like we at least want, and by the way, Squirrel White.
Yeah.
So there's four guys, who like at least a couple of them you would expect to be part of this situation. So, and I have no idea how. I mean, I think Brazel is going to be solid. I could see him taking a step this year, and I think it's good to have him back. Matthews needs to be a monster, and then Braylon Staley we'll see. It's thin.
It's thin. It's light, and they need Matthews to be really, really good. Like the more you look at their wide receiver group, they need Matthews to be an absolute stud, and that's independent of the quarterback play, which again we'll get into here in just a few minutes. That we know very little about as to what that's going to look like right now. But let's say they just get adequate quarterback play. They need Mike Matthews to be really good. We asked Adam Sparks about the Boo Carter part of this, and it didn't seem like Adam had a huge expectation that he was going to be overly involved on the offensive side. We'll see how that looks. I understand the idea of you don't want to play him all that much on the offensive side of the ball because of how important he's going to be on defense. So I get it. Like you don't want to get him hurt that way. I am going to be interested to see if there comes a point, though, Joe, where they look around and they say, you know what, we just got to get the ball in the hands of people that can make plays with it. And they throw him out there maybe a little bit more than they want to. But I know he wants that. We'll see if the coaching staff actually follows through with that.
Yeah, you may have to do that. I mean, he's so important on the other side of the ball is the problem. But yeah, you may it just may be necessity. But again, then it's like, so if you're so I have to assume the freshman receiver thing that we've seen so far just has to do with, the offense it's a different deal for receivers. It's very, very obviously quick reacting. If you're actually playing with pace, like they didn't do much last year, then I mean it's grueling. I mean it's you're asking a lot of a receiver. But I mean if it's that hard for a freshman receiver to do that, then like he's going to be able to. I understand that he's been in the program, but you just go over there and you're fine.
I don't know. I mean, you may have to get really creative with the way that they use it. I mean, look, I understand that his true freshman season, he was behind Jalen Hyatt. So it's not like he played a ton, but Squirrel White did get out there in his freshman year.
That's true. No, you're right.
So
like,
if you've got a certain skill set, maybe there's a guy here that we're not talking about that has a certain skill set where they're comfortable putting him in, a third down situation or whatever it is. Like maybe there's a guy out there that can do that. But to your point, like he's largely played three guys. And their offense, in 2022, part of the reason Squirrel White got on the field as a true freshman was they were winning a lot of those games by 35 points, and he was out there at that point.
He also was an early enrollee who I actually remember Golish saying like he's like the most mature kid I've ever seen coming into college or something like that. So like they were gushing about like his ability to figure everything out and stuff like that. So that's worth keeping in mind. Speaking of freshmen, one thing Sparks said yesterday that I get it. Like you hope he's so good that he starts and he's good and all that right away. But generally, a true freshman offensive lineman in a league like this, I would say don't do that if you can help it.
Yeah, if you can help it. I mean, look, you can find guys,
but they can't help it.
Right. I mean, he's a 5-star guy. You hope he's ready to go. You can find guys. Look at Latham. Go look at Cade Proctor at Alabama. Like you can find guys that are ready to play
good that
immediately as true freshmen, but it's hard. Like it's a hard thing to do. So, again, is David Sanders probably being the starter at right tackle? Is that because he's so good, or is that reflective of where they're at right tackle? Maybe it's both. We'll see.
He's one of those like Vols fans, 5-star. Everybody knows his name, and I mean, how many offensive linemen does everybody know their name? Not that many.
Yep.
Might have some growing pains. Just be ready. I mean, he's a true freshman.
Yeah,
offensive lineman.
They played Georgia. What, game 3?
Yeah.
Welcome,
exactly.
kid.
Yeah, here's some edge guys. Yeah.
615-737-1025. Our phone number 615-737-1025. We'll continue the discussion on Tennessee coming up next. Plus, who in the world's playing quarterback for the Vols? We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game.
for a while here, it was assumed that Joey Aguilar would start, and then I've heard some Jake Merklinger stands this summer. And no, Merklinger's the guy. And then since then, I think a lot of people, and maybe me included, have the theory that this could be like a Milton Hooker 2021 situation. But I don't know which way that would go.
Who's Milton? Who's Hooker?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, one guy starts. He's serviceable. He's okay, but something's kind of missing. Maybe let's go to the other guy, and then the other guy is actually the better guy, and he keeps the job. I just don't know which way that would go because, the whole thing with that year was Milton was clearly the better quarterback in practice, but there was just sort of a different thing in the game. You could see a Joey Aguilar being impressive in practice, but then Merklinger having a better feel for the offense, which would come out more in games. Or also, I guess you could flip it the other way, and Joey Aguilar's the gamer, and so he's the Hendon Hooker. He's the guy that just get him under the lights and his experience shows up. So then maybe it would be Merklinger starting because he can run the offense efficiently. You would think that's how Heupel would go, especially in an opener, a neutral site game against a team that you could lose to if you don't play well, that you would just want the guy who can just make the offense operate, which if they played tomorrow, that would be Jake Merklinger. It's just a question of whether or not Joey Aguilar can close that gap during camp.
That was Adam Sparks from the Knoxville News Sentinel on with us yesterday discussing the quarterback situation for Tennessee. Tennessee at SEC Media Days today. Josh Heupel and company will be speaking later. Joe, how do you view quarterback for Tennessee as we're a couple weeks out from fall camp getting underway? Obviously, drama in the offseason. It was the story of the offseason in college football. Nico Iamaleava taken off into UCLA. Joey Aguilar is in. Aguilar does have a lot of experience, although not at this level, playing quarterback. Merklinger, almost zero experience. Not that means that one's favored over the other, but what do you make of where things kind of currently stand with the quarterback situation for Tennessee heading into this year?
You're just going to completely forget Nashville's own George McIntyre, huh?
I would be very surprised if he's in reality a part of this mix here.
Let's say he is. So then are you very excited? Because that's got to –
I don't think that would speak well for your other two options.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The true freshman is in the mix right now.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it. Sometimes a guy comes in just like we were talking about a 5-star offensive tackle, too good, and he comes in, he's just too good. There have been freshmen who have come in, and it's like, okay, he's just the best one. But I'm going to stick with Merklinger as my prediction. I'm going to stick with Merklinger, and I think it's just I think what Sparks touched on there is definitely something to keep in mind. This first game, I probably want whoever's logged the most snaps and the most time watching film and the most everything with this offense. Now, look, if Aguilar, if he's great in camp, it's like, oh, yeah, that's clearly the guy. Great. Do it. Okay. You should be able to win that game with him too, if that's the case. But my prediction right now is that the guy who didn't just get there is going to get the job to start. And then maybe Aguilar is what Sparks talked about. Maybe he ends up being the Hendon Hooker at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the other part of this is what version of Joey Aguilar are you getting? Because 2 years ago, he threw for almost 3,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 10 picks. Now, that's still a lot of interceptions, and you don't like the double-digit interceptions, but it's better than the 23 touchdowns and 14 picks he threw last year. I mean, his completion percentage 2 years ago was 63.7. Last year was 55.9. That's a pretty big drop.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at it, if you talk to people that were at Appalachian State, apparently they had offensive line issues last year, and that was a big part of it.
They had terrible defense.
Yes. Too. So we'll see how the kind of the external factors that have nothing to do with him specifically played into that. Question is, how good is this Tennessee offensive line going to be? And this has traditionally been an offense that, say what you will about the quarterbacks in this offense. Obviously Hooker was unbelievable, and his touchdown turnover ratio was ridiculous. And it's probably never going to be that again, at least in the foreseeable future. But like even Joe Milton. Joe Milton didn't throw a whole lot of interceptions. Nico last year didn't throw a whole lot of interceptions. Quarterbacks have just not thrown a lot of interceptions in this offense. He has. So is Heupel's offense tailor-made to reducing some of that? That's going to be the big question.
I think that's a great point, and I think probably, I mean, just some of the stuff it clears out for you and makes obvious. Maybe that's exactly what he needs. But you also then you have to have the arm to work those sidelines, and obviously, you got to be able to hit those deep shots when you get those opportunities, when you have those, those choice routes. I mean, can you put the ball on the money? Again, Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton, no comparison in arm strength, right? But Hendon Hooker had the touch, man, and he laid it in there, and he did not overthrow guys. So if Joey Aguilar's skill set fits with the offense, I definitely think that the offense should be an interception reducer. I think that's one of the reasons Josh Heupel loves it.
The best case scenario for me, if you're a Tennessee fan, is that some of the stuff you heard in the spring wasn't just smoke, and that they actually did see significant improvement from Merklinger, and that they're feeling pretty good about it. And by the time the fall camp's done, that Heupel looks around and says, I think he might be pretty good, and that he's your guy. That to me would be the best case scenario, is that he's ready to go and is that player. My expectation is that Aguilar's probably going to be the guy out of the gate, and then we'll see how it goes from there. I know that he's new in the offense. He's had, some few months to work on at least the film study part of it and getting to familiarize himself with it. Now, I realize there's a difference between watching it on tape and then getting out there on the field and executing it. And maybe he's not ready by the time camp rolls around. My gut tells me he's probably going to be starting against Syracuse, and then we'll see how it goes from there. But, I mean, I guess you could view that one of two ways. Like, if Merklinger is just clearly the better guy in camp, how much of that is how good he is, and how much of that is maybe Joey Aguilar is not all that good. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be it. Could be both of them elevating each other, and it could be both of them dragging each other down. You're not going to find out until they play football games against good teams. And there's also the NIL aspect of this, of course.
Yep.
I don't know what they paid Joey Aguilar, but at that point, you got to get in there. You got to pay somebody to come here. So you may be playing the guy who's making less. But again, that same thing happened at Vanderbilt last year. Nate Johnson came from Utah. He was the big guy in the portal. They got Pavia. I think Pavia earned his money in the season as but he won the job when Nate Johnson was supposed to. Nate Johnson, by the way, is back at Utah. So that stuff happens too. So yeah, look, I think you hope it's a guy, and you hope that McIntyre is right. I mean, you hope so. He's in there and pushing.
Well, I mean, to that point, they're in an interesting spot at quarterback right now, not just for this year, but kind of looking ahead to the next 2-3 years here, because Merklinger is there, and look, Merklinger, he's a 4-star guy. Like he's not a talented player, and they feel good about him. But you've got him. Aguilar's here for the 1 year, so after this year he's gone. But you've got Merklinger, you got McIntyre that just came in, and at the moment you got Faison Brandon, who, depending on where you look, is the number 1 recruit in America next year that's coming in. One of those guys, at least, maybe 2, aren't going to be there after this year. Like, it's hard for me to imagine that they get to next fall and all of Merklinger, McIntyre, and Faison Brandon are in that room. It's hard for me to get there based on where they're at right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if Merklinger, if he just is just a backup this year, understanding what's behind him, then that's pretty obvious. But what if he is a guy this year and he plays well this year? I mean, it's a good problem to have, but also it's one of those two guys could have a higher ceiling, and then again, that's the problem. You want as many good quarterbacks as possible. You're going to lose some, but yeah, it might be real easy and clear. Then you get in the question of, okay, so Brandon's coming in and McIntyre. I mean, it should be a competition. One of them be the backup. Sometimes people are like, well, if I'm going to be the backup, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah. Nevada Josh says George McIntyre is going to be better than Archie. Talking about Arch Manning. Maybe so.
Okay.
We'll see.
Peyton Manning.
I love that clip so much. Is that Bev Davenport?
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Oh, man.
Better than Arch Manning.
Not our favorite Bev from Knoxville, but also a Bev.
Finebaum loves Arch Manning. We have to get into that with him.
We will. we've got some takes.
Did he say yesterday that he might be like the best college quarterback since Tebow or something like that?
He's already said that.
Yeah.
Did he say it again yesterday?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Like, calm down, Paul.
It's like,
Paul!
Paul is throwing it out
Let's see
there.
if it pays off for him.
He is throwing it out there. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll take your thoughts on Tennessee as they are at SEC Media Days today, plus some comments from Pavia and Clark Lee yesterday on the Vanderbilt front at SEC Media Days as well. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I'm super excited just for this year, for the guys that we have around. And then, our defense too. A lot of people don't talk about our defense, but our defense is really, really solid this year. It's sometimes hard to find a window to throw in at practice sometimes. So those guys are going to be well prepared. And, I can't wait for this year. It's probably my funniest journey so far is here at Vanderbilt, and the funnest offseason has been here. But more importantly, I've seen the hardest workers here at Vanderbilt. Every time I walk outside, I'm thinking, I outworked someone today, and I did 3 workouts, and I go outside and Eli's catching jugs, or new freshmen is like learning after Eli to catch jugs and stuff. And so this stuff is just going to replicate in Vanderbilt football, is going to be, someone to look out for.
As Diego Pavia, along with Chase and Big Joe yesterday. Good interviews yesterday from Chase and Big Joe with Diego Pavia. Clark Lee with like a 20-minute sit-down with Chase and Big Joe yesterday as well. So if you missed that, go check it out. Chase and Big Joe down there again today, live at SEC Media Days. And our SEC Media Days coverage brought to you by Brewhouse South. Experience Nashville's ultimate sports and brew hangout at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. We'll have Paul Finebaum coming up on our show here in about 11 minutes or so at 6:45. So looking forward to that. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025. Relatively calm from Diego Pavia yesterday. I did not hear any evidence of him like calling out each member of the Tennessee football program or anything like that. So relatively calm from Diego Pavia.
Yeah, I thought maybe he'd, throw some more fodder out there. I liked the tuxedo a lot. The
Yeah, it was good
tuxedo
looking.
was sweet. Yeah. He was good. I saw many pictures from various reporters on site saying, wow, look at this crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever seen for a Vanderbilt player, biggest crowd for any player here today. So he moves the needle. But, yeah, he was careful.
He was.
From what I can tell, he was careful. He did mention like the words national championship. And I think Arya Gerson asked him, and he told her national championship. So, but hey, I mean, why not? Clark Lee said playing into January. Yeah. So that might be the most, like, ooh. But I mean, Clark Lee also in his tenure has said that they're going to be the best program. You open yourself up to people obviously scorning you and making fun of you. But at the same time, like, if you're publicly putting expectations out there, we want to be, like a good solid 6-6 every year. That's what we're looking for.
Right around 5-7 this year.
Yeah. I mean, so, shoot high. Why not?
Can you imagine like a Clark Lee got up there and was like, yeah, I saw our Vegas win total today. If we could get over 4.5, that'd be great.
Yeah. I'm taking the over barely, but I'm going to take the over.
Yeah. I have no problem with coaches, players getting up there and expressing confidence and setting goals. Like, why are you playing the game, right? Like, you're playing the game to go win.
Yeah, so, like everybody's goal should be that. Everybody's goal should be to win every game.
Exactly. So I have no problem with any of that. It was interesting to hear Clark Lee talk yesterday because there's a lot that's gone on in that program over the last year. And he's not been one to shy away from some of the big wins they had last year, obviously the Alabama game. He talked with Chase and Big Joe yesterday about Jerry Kill and how important that addition has been to him personally, not only just from the offensive side of things, but basically as a sounding board and how he's really helped him as a coach. He talked last year about taking over full-time as DC and how he's not doing that this year and that he's going to take more of the traditional head coach role. He's still going to be heavily involved with the defense, but just from the division of his time, kind of looking around there. So one thing about Clark Lee, it's been pretty interesting to follow over the last couple of years. The guy is willing to try new things. He is willing to not just be so rigid in his ways, which we see a lot of coaches do that sometimes I think gets them in trouble. Like Clark Lee willing to adapt, and we'll see what that looks like for this Vanderbilt team this year. But it obviously paid off tremendously for them last year.
Yeah, and it's so hard. His previous D coordinators, I mean, nothing was working. It's like, were those bad hires? Was it just like, hey, guys, like we're losing every single individual battle out there and we're in the SEC? I don't know, but obviously Clark Lee as DC worked, but he did start to transition out of that a little bit last year too, because it is like to really do both jobs. I mean, you have to cut corners somewhere. Yeah. You can't do the full coordinator job and And the coaches who do that stuff, of course, they have someone else who takes a chunk of the responsibility. But it'll be interesting to see if they're better with him not as the DC. I mean, that's what he is, and sometimes that is a comfort zone. Again, it's just like in the NFL, though. These guys who now it's just the norm to have the play calling head coach because that's what he's comfortable doing.
Well, we talked about them yesterday. I mean, the offense is going to be interesting to see. Like Pavia was talking about like Eli Stowers and some of the measurables that these guys like. Dude's got a 43-inch vertical. I have no idea. I don't know anybody who's got a 43-inch vertical. And he was already like looking ahead to next year's pro day. And he's like, you just watch next year's pro day. Everybody's going to be tweeting about Eli Stowers. You heard it here first. So, I mean, the expectations for that kid in particular are going to be pretty high heading into this year.
Yeah. And of course, then it's like, well, why wasn't he there? Yeah. But I mean, look, again, to me, it's if you bring the quarterback, that's, if you have an established quarterback, bring the quarterback.
Yep.
And again, Pavia was one of those guys that you could have made the case to not, but good for them. You darn right you bring it. That would have been crazy. But yeah, Eli Stowers, a lot of hype, man. A lot of hype for him. And the first round or high pick appears to be on the table. And I've seen that before at this time of year, and then it looks a lot different, after the season. But he seems to have all the ingredients.
He does, and Clark Lee. It's an interesting year from the program because look, you look at Lee's overall record, and I remember back in 2022, they closed that year out, and you were feeling good about things, right? They went 5-7, and it felt like they had some momentum. And then next year was a total disaster. And he talked about that yesterday. He's like, that 23 team, basically he said he looked out there and at times he just did not recognize what they were doing. And that led to all the changes that we saw last year in 2024. Obviously more success last year in 2024, and you've got the quarterback part of it figured out, which is forever. I mean, people forget until Pavia got here, they could not figure out quarterback. I mean, they were bouncing around from quarterback to quarterback. And then they finally got it and figured it out, and look what a difference it makes. But another situation here where a lot of momentum, more momentum than we saw from 2022 heading into this year. How do you respond to it if you're this Vanderbilt program? That's going to be, I think, really interesting this year.
Yeah. Again, just people are actually going to be interested in playing them and wanting to beat them. It's just normally it's been viewed in some years, and correctly, by the way, as a mini bye.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a mini idol.
No, you had it right first time.
Yeah. But see, that would be like a bye in the tournament, so that was fine. But
find the other way too. It's in the dictionary.
Well, the dictionary is often wrong. Michael and Madison says the amount of people who took offense to Pavia and Lee yesterday blew my mind. What else are they supposed to say? Yeah, we're going to shoot for a 7th regular season win. So stupid.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
But also you understand, Michael, like if you're Vanderbilt and you say stuff like that, yeah, you don't understand why people are going to make fun of that.
Yeah,
they're going to make fun of it.
When it was Clark Lee talking about being the best program in America. That was like a year after he took the job.
Right.
I remember that. And people were like, huh, okay. The best program in America, huh? But I mean, again, I have no problem with people setting goals.
Quiz Bowl champions.
Yeah. I mean, anything other than champions of life, I'm cool with, basically. Like, after you live through that, yeah, if you want to talk about winning national championships, that's fine.
By the way, did you see Alabama's tweet? Did you see that?
No.
You didn't?
I don't think so.
I mean, I'll try to find it for you, but Alabama football official account tweeted out some, off-season workouts brick by brick.
No.
So I don't know if that
makes me very happy.
Yeah, like is that them making fun of Tennessee, or is that
adopting some of
Kalen DeBoer the next Butch Jones?
That may not be good. That may not speak well for him. We'll see.
There's a question for Finebaum. Is Kalen DeBoer the next Butch Jones?
Somebody run over the fraternity. Throw a freaking brick through their window.
Thank you, Butch. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We will be joined by Paul Finebaum coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. And we are happy to head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in the great Paul Finebaum to the program this morning. Paul, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, guys. How are you?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, Paul, we were just going over the Tennessee quarterback situation. Obviously, Nico Iamaleava, the story of the offseason, he has moved on, and Tennessee fans rallied behind Josh Heupel at that point. One of my thoughts at the time was, it's great that you're rallying behind the coach. Are you still going to be rallying around the coach when you're going 7-5 or 8-4 this year? And we'll see what happens on that front. But what do you make of kind of the situation Tennessee's in at quarterback and where you think this may be headed?
Well, number one, Josh Heupel got a lot of credit for something he really had very little to do with. I mean, the guy walked out. So let's be real. He didn't kick him out. He didn't show up for practice, and the school did the only thing they could. And I understand why everybody praised Heupel, because I was part of that group. But you're completely correct. If Tennessee's slumping toward a 7-5 season, nobody's going to remember that, and nobody's going to care. But I really don't think that's going to happen. I frankly think Tennessee has an upgrade in Joey Aguilar. I don't think he's got the raw ability that Nico did, but I think he wants to be there, and I think he will be a better whole package at quarterback. And I never understood all the fascination with Nico other than the money. I mean, that from day one, that's all we heard about, how much money he was making. But outside of a couple of plays, what did he do at Tennessee?
Wow. I did not realize you were such a Nico hater, Paul. But you are an arch lover, I understand. And I've got to get to that. So I want to make sure I have it right. So you think he's going to be the best college quarterback since Tim Tebow?
See, Joe, you don't know me. You haven't spent much time around me. But,
That's a fair point.
But let me make a few things pretty obvious to the audience. It's July. You're on television. You get asked questions, and one thing I've never liked is boring. So I gave a heater type answer, and now I'm stuck with it. Whether listen, even my own colleagues are blasting me on national TV, but that's okay. In full context, I probably should have said I think he will be the sum of the whole part better than the best quarterback since Tebow. No. Of course he isn't right now. We haven't seen much of him, and that's understandable. But I think he's got the potential to be. Sometimes, if you knew anything about me, Joe, you would know that I leave out words sometimes in going down the hyperbole trail.
Yeah. No, I know. We haven't spent much time together. Well, listen, I mean, Paul. So I do have a story on you today. We've talked about it earlier. I don't know if you'll be able to read it or not yet. I haven't been served any papers yet, so that's a positive. I did. I feel like during the process, we got to be pretty close friends, and so one of my favorite things, Paul, of the whole thing was reading your book that you did with Gene Wojciechowski, which was, remind me the title.
My conference can be your conference. Why the SEC? Let me try this. Get this out with a straight face. Still rules college football.
That's right. So I had 3 takes from that book that especially stood out to me, and I wanted to run them by you. I wanted you to rank them for me. Okay.
Go.
All right. 1, Florida already has its next Nick Saban. His name is Will Muschamp. Okay. 2, Texas A&M is going to take over the SEC as long as they can keep Kevin Sumlin. And 3, Tennessee finally has a football coach with a plan. His name is Butch Jones.
Well, you missed one that was written after the book came out, and that's the day Jim McElwain retired. I said Florida now has its Urban Meyer. I subscribe to the theory of never be boring, never be gray, and part of that is when you mentioned it in the article, Joe. When you go to work for what you wrote or described as state-run media, you try to keep your job to the next contract. and and you can never go wrong being highly positive. But and as you also know, that's not how my career started. So I think early on at the SEC, I tended to go a little bit hyperbolic. Those are some idiotic takes. I'm just glad you never dug deep enough to find out how lavishly I praised Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee.
Yeah, I missed that one. Well, but the thing is, Paul, in this book, there's a lot about Jadeveon Clowney and the criticism that you sent his way, and Ray Tanner, being mad. So you were. There's plenty of pissing people off through all this too, of course.
No, I was on TV my first couple of weeks at ESPN, and Clowney had refused to go to practice one day, and Spurrier called me and just ripped Clowney. He said he's the worst player he's ever had, blah, blah, blah. So I go on TV and call him the biggest loser in college football. And then Spurrier comes out and blasts me. I'm going, is this real? But it's also, you guys cover pro football. You know how that works. Listen, the one thing I've learned, and the one that you can never go broke being wrong about something. What I despise, and this is what I've really tried to build my career around, and I know you guys subscribe to it as well because you're working at one of the top sports radio stations in the country, is nobody wants to hear a guest say, you know what, that's a good question. I mean, it could be a close game and it could go either way. I think it's a fourth quarter game. I mean, that drives fans crazy. So go ahead and just say he's going to be the best since Nick Saban or better than Nick Saban or all that, and everybody can make fun of you, and 20 minutes later somebody else will be making a fool out of themselves.
Paul Finebaum with us here on the program. Paul, what do you make of Kalen DeBoer heading into year 2 here at Alabama and the way the stage is set for him with, I presume, Ty Simpson at quarterback?
That is correct. And I think the expectations are literally through the roof. This is Alabama that, once I don't know. I think there's what's the saying? Elephants have no memory, or maybe that's another animal. I don't know. But Alabama fans never remember what happened previously. They've forgotten the end of the season, losing to a Michigan team that I'm not even sure had a starter from the previous year's national championship team playing in the bowl game. He's recruited incredibly well. The real question is, how will he perform when the pressure is on? Last year, 3 times as a double-digit favorite, including in Nashville, he lost. If that happens again, the drumbeat for him will be enormous. But as we speak, which is in the middle of July, I think they have a really good team.
Well, speaking of the coach of Alabama football, Paul, what happened yesterday with Greg McElroy? I'm a little confused because when I first saw his report, I was like, well, if Greg McElroy is saying someone really knows that, then, boy, I'm taking this seriously. And then apparently it's not to be taken seriously. Is that right?
Well, I'll sound like somebody my age. I mean, this modern media is ridiculous. I mean, this is, what happened was, in a nutshell, I was on Greg's show. I'm on there every Monday. And he said to me, hey, I heard from somebody that really is notable that would know, and he believes Nick Saban is coming back into coaching. What do you think? I said, that's absurd. I said, there's no way, blah, blah, blah. McElroy then agreed with me. But he did ask the question, okay? And he was, and I finally asked him, I said, 30 years ago, my editor would have called me and said, who's your source? So I'm asking you, who's your source? He goes, well, somebody that knows Nick Saban. So it was call it whatever you want. I knew the second he said it, it was going to get traction. And it did. And do I think there's any truth to it? No, but that has nothing to do with the reality of the world we live in when it comes to aggregating stories.
So he is he basically walked it back, and he was on your show later, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were together on the SEC network set, and he was acting like, I don't know why everybody's reacting this way. I mean, 2 years ago, Joe, in Nashville, I show up, I go on First Take. The first question to me is, considering that Nick Saban did not make the playoffs last year, do you think he'll be on the hot seat? It was not Stephen A. Smith. He was on vacation. And instead of saying that's the stupidest question I've ever had, I said, if he doesn't get to the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Nick Saban. And then I continue to say, and he's the one that's going to be putting the pressure, because after all, he's the great. All the headline was, Finebaum says Saban on hot seat if he doesn't make CFP.
Beautiful. And I'm sure Nick was fine with that.
Yeah, I'm sure he
He was none too happy, I can assure you.
All right, so Paul, just to close this out, first of all, I do want to seriously thank you for all the time, and I mean ridiculous amounts of time you spent with me. And my God, the texts, so many texts. I'm so sorry, Paul, but I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to do. Do you agree with my overall takeaway that you've become a big softie?
Yes, but but that comes with age, and that comes with the reality that of a dramatic shift. And I think you pointed it out very, very eloquently that COVID changed me. It doesn't mean I'm not coming in with hot takes, but I'm not coming in with the kind of eviscerating knife that I used to have, because people listen to this show because they love sports. They're not as fascinated by people being torn down. All you have to do is put on CNN for that.
No doubt about it. Paul, thanks so much for your time. You've been very kind to be with us this morning, and we will talk to you soon.
It was my pleasure. And thanks, Joe. And the server should be there in a few minutes with the lawsuit.
That sounds good.
That's good. Paul
Thanks,
Finebaum, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your reaction to what Paul had to say. We will continue the discussion coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. Appreciate Paul Finebaum for being with us on the program. And if you missed that, we'll have it for you a little bit later in the program as well. So looking forward to that. I got some tickets to give away, a pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana. Be caller 5, 615-737-1025. Caller 5 will win a pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana. They got free soft drinks up there, free parking as well, less than 3 hours away. You can also get your tickets at holidayworld.com if you don't win today. So we'll keep those going this week as well. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Joe, Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, with some pointed words to the Big Ten yesterday in his long opening address for SEC Media Days. Talked about a lot of different things, but as Heather Dinich from ESPN points out, there is a deadline coming up to determine the format for the 2026 college football playoff. It's December 1st, and there are still discussions ongoing about what exactly that format is going to look like. And it's been clear that the Big Ten has their model that they would prefer, and we've talked about that as the 4-4-2-2. The SEC has not been willing to go there, and yesterday Greg Sankey said, quote, "The Big Ten has a different view. That's fine. We have a 12-team playoff, 5 conference champions. That can stay if we can't agree," was what Greg Sankey said yesterday, which a lot of people said, cool, yeah, let's let that stay. That's fine. What do you make of Greg Sankey's comments yesterday and the disagreement between the SEC and the Big Ten on what the college football playoff model should be?
Yeah, so everybody else has signed away power to the SEC and Big Ten.
Yep.
But they've also, and Sankey has said this, I don't know if Petiti has said this, I think he only goes on Joel Klatt podcasts. They do have Big Ten Media Days next week, by the way. Should be interesting. In Las Vegas. But Sankey has sort of framed that as almost like it's like a last resort kind of thing, which is what it should be. Now, he did say, unanimity, God, that word bothers me so much. Unanimity is not necessary. Just to make it clear, we do not need unanimity on our allocations. I have emeritus.
Greg, you want to use some normal words?
That'd
be fun.
Emeritus of the brain.
Yep.
Yes. But it is, when it comes down to it, it's them. So if right now, if things hadn't changed in Destin, and we would have Brett Yormark and Jim Phillips screaming and waving their arms, and it wouldn't matter. And the SEC and Big Ten would we'd be going forward with this stupid 4-4-2-2-1 thing. But the SEC has officially said they don't agree, which I applaud them.
Yeah.
Good job. And good job, SEC football coaches. So it just comes down, I guess it basically just comes down to whether the Big Ten is going to capitulate or not. There's a good word for you. But I do want, yes, they have the power. Yes, ultimately, push comes to shove, they're going to dictate it. Like, if you're the SEC even, do you not say, well, the ACC and the Big 12 both want this, so it's 3 against 1, so, does the Big Ten not take that into consideration? I mean, that's a question for Tony Petiti next week, right?
Yeah.
Because I guess if they're just going to stay deadlocked, then we're just going to stay at 12. And frankly, that's fine too.
Yeah. As long as you rank the 1 through 12 properly, which they're going to do, by the way, starting now, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I am totally fine with that thing staying at 12 if they can't come to some agreement here. Now, common logic tells me that eventually they're going to get this figured out here and it's going to go to 16. But I mean, when that quote was tweeted out yesterday from Sankey about, well, if we can't figure it out and they can't agree, we'll just stay at 12. A lot of people around the country were like, great, that'd be awesome. Let's do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. God forbid you ever listen to what the customer says, just like with the NCAA tournament expansion, but they haven't done that yet either. But yeah, I think I would also say, the home site thing needs to be worked out, but hey, I mean, it's okay. I mean, that's still kind of a minor detail compared to everything, the big picture stuff. So this would be a 6-year deal, right? I think that's
I believe
right.
that is correct.
And it's by December 1st. So, but it's just, it is one of those things where actually because I guess it would be clear the other way too if they just pushed it through. But with them being deadlocked, and again, it's a 3-against-1 situation, this does kind of, lay bare how just like ineffective the ACC and Big 12 are anymore. They're just along for the ride.
Well, this is kind of what Ryan McGee was talking about with us last week. And, he was talking more about like the specific on the field conferences of kind of feeling like AFC and NFC. But in reality, like right now in college football, it's kind of what it is. Like we've not gotten there on the field yet with like just two enormous conferences. But in terms of like decision-making power, we're absolutely there with the SEC and the Big Ten. And you can feel however you want to feel about that. I mean, they have all the money and they've got the best program, so it kind of is what it is. But that's where we're at on the college football front right now.
Yeah, and it's not good. I mean, like it's not what it should be. I mean, I don't even love, like this is where like the power schools breaking off. There's a lot of that makes sense just because, especially with like NCAA rules, these rules don't apply to these schools. They screw over these schools because now they have to spend this and but the actual power leagues, like they should have equal power. I mean, like they really should, and that's how this is just another example of how twisted it's gotten. Because they have more money, they have bigger rights fees, they have more good programs in those leagues, but let's go through the ACC. I mean, you're still talking about, if you want to talk about sports powerhouses, Duke, North Carolina basketball, Florida State, Clemson football. It's not like there's nothing of value here, and I don't want to see it just picked apart and sold for parts and just two gargantuan leagues take over everything. So it's just it's a glimpse at how unhealthy the whole situation is. But I think the SEC, and maybe Greg Sankey is saying this to Tony Petitti, but it's like, by the letter of the law, we don't have to have unanimity.
Yes.
But doesn't it make sense for us to be somewhat collegial and like, everybody agree on this? I mean, you're the only league now that wants the other thing. So, right. I mean, again, that's Sankey. I don't know what he's saying behind closed doors. I'm very interested to hear what Petitti says next week about this.
I am too. And I think that's a question that's worth asking. He feels like you got 3-against-1 here. Like, what's your thought on bending towards
he's not going to get his way.
No.
So, I mean, like his best case scenario, and again, maybe he's like, well, I just prefer to stay at 12. Okay. Then again, like everyone will be like, well, great. You guys should have just done that anyway.
Right.
But, if everybody else wants this other thing, then maybe you should go ahead and be the bigger person one time.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction on the college football playoff format that is still yet to be agreed on in the world of college sports. Plus, we brought up with Finebaum some what looked like Nick Saban news for a few minutes yesterday and then turned out to not be. We will get into that. Plus, an SEC coach that some people around here absolutely hate that I have grown to love with another just beautiful moment yesterday that we'll get into. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal of the week is Chiba Hut Toasted Subs with a menu featuring over 30 signature sub sandwiches as well as a variety of Rice Krispie treats, salads, and munchies. They combine homegrown food with real people in a relaxed environment. Get half off a $40 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We brought it up with Finebaum earlier, Joe, but Greg McElroy yesterday making some news at SEC Media Days. This was the quote he had about Nick Saban. Quote, "A very much in the know person that I have a lot of respect for and have spent a lot of time around, just really, really admire. They seem to think Nick Saban is not done coaching." He's pretty adamant that he thinks Nick Saban will be coaching again. Now, as you pointed out with Finebaum, kind of felt like they got walked back as the day went on a little bit, but that made the rounds immediately at SEC Media Days yesterday, to the point where people were asking Lane Kiffin about it, and we'll get to Lane Kiffin here in just a second on a different subject, but people were asking Lane Kiffin about it, and Kiffin was basically like, "Oh, yeah, it doesn't really surprise me. Like, I figured he'd probably be back into coaching at some point, and from conversations I've had with him, probably be one and done, and, I think it's kind of a waste if he's not in coaching because he's still really sharp." So let's went into this big, long thing from Lane Kiffin, but what did you make of the Nick Saban stuff yesterday surrounding SEC Media Days?
I've had a problem with Greg McElroy twice in knowing of him. I think he's a very underrated Alabama quarterback. I mean, he sat there for the comeback.
He did.
And it could not stop it. But I think he's one of the best color analysts going right now in college football. He's actually willing to criticize, really good with X's and O's.
I feel like there's a butt coming.
He does a great job. He flipped out about Tony Vitello. Remember, it was like whatever he said. Like that became an easy, obvious rant. But it was like, calm down, man. The guy was celebrating a national championship, and then he apologized for that. Not because we complained, but he apologized because he should have, because that was a bad take.
Called it embarrassing and classless.
Yeah, that was a terrible take by him. This is so weird. As soon as I saw that quote that you just said, I said to myself, well, we know what the entire show is tomorrow.
Yep.
It's Nick Saban, because the guy who played for Nick Saban would never say a source, a great source, if it's not Nick Saban.
Turns out.
Just somebody you like, who likes him too. What? But then he's like all mad at everybody. It's like, oh, you guys, this is a nothing burger. You created this. This is the rant too early. I'm sorry. We don't need to do a rant today now. I mean, it's seriously amazing. As soon as he started walking it back, I'm like, wait a minute. So you said this publicly without checking with Nick Saban, your college coach?
Yeah.
And I promise you that he did, by the way. You can tell that later when he's like, yeah, I don't think he's coming back. At some point, Saban texted him like, hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, here's the quote from McElroy, I don't know, 6 hours later. Quote, "You want my personal opinion? I think he's done. I'd be shocked if he came back." There are people connected to the sports world that think he's not done. Now, interpret that however you will. People that would be somewhat knowledgeable about something like this. Yes. It's like, what are you saying, man? What are you doing?
So, again, we're talking like an agent or something like that. Okay. If you get that little nugget of information, that's interesting. So then what you do is you text Nick Saban. Say, before I make an ass of myself and say something publicly about you coming back to coaching, should I? Oh, I shouldn't. Okay, thanks. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
I love it.
Because again, McElroy's really smart. He's really good. He's really good on the air. I can't believe that he's acting shocked. He's a sophomore in college journalism student or something.
Somebody who would know thinks he's coming back. Personally, I'd be shocked. Yeah, I'd be stunned if he was back.
Just say nothing next time. Just say nothing.
Where would he go?
But what's that? I know that's the thing. We could have had the rest of the week. That's really what I'm mad about, is that we had the whole rest of the week of where will Saban coach again? Is he going to the NFL? Man, is he going to college football? Is he going back to LSU? Who knows?
Are you going to listen to me, or are you going to listen to these guys?
If it came back out that he was actually trying to coach again, there would be Alabama fans storming the gate of Kalen DeBoer's office right now. It'd be Lane Kiffin all over again out there. Mattresses, everything.
I mean,
Like, get him back. Get out of coach's office. Get out.
he would just disappear.
It's like, where'd Kalen DeBoer go? Nobody's seen him in 3 days.
Without a trace.
Oh, man. Just good stuff. We brought up Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
So Lane Kiffin yesterday, he got through relatively unscathed. Like, he usually says a couple of things where it's like, okay, it's pretty funny. Not a whole lot going on yesterday. And then he was finally asked about his tweet with Hugh Freeze that we've referenced a couple times over the last week of all the golfing stuff going on with Hugh Freeze, and Lane Kiffin quote tweeting. I mean, like, hey, that golf game's looking pretty good, coach. Way to go. Nice. He was asked about that yesterday. Here is what Lane Kiffin had to say.
It seemed like in the past week you've had a few tweets tagging or directing at Hugh Freeze. Was curious what the message or thought behind some of those posts were.
Well, someone said that coming in here to me. I like Coach Freeze, so I think they think that was something to do with, like, I was fishing, it was golfing. That really wasn't that. I have a thing with him going back a few years ago, and he posted a picture in response to me of some 2-pound bass or something like that. So I've kind of always posted bigger fish pictures back towards him. So that had nothing to do with his golf game, which sounds like he's doing amazing at that. So that's great for him.
I thought he was going to make it through without taking a jab, but he didn't. It had nothing to do with his golf game, which, by the way, sounds like he's doing wonderful at right now. Sounds like the golf game's going really well for Hugh Freeze. Never mind the fact that he can't recruit anymore, but the golf game going really well for Hugh Freeze.
Well done, Lane. Well done, Lane. Yeah, and then later he said something about I fished yesterday, but yesterday was a dead period.
Yesterday, actually wasn't allowed to recruit.
Yeah, so that's when I do things. Unlike Hugh,
he is the ultimate troll.
He's fantastic. He and Finebaum had another.
Yes.
Again, it's like watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's uncomfortable, but it's funny because it's uncomfortable, and you're not quite sure. Wait, was he serious? Because that's what Lane. A lot of his stuff is like. He's just kidding.
Joking
there, right?
Yeah.
He's just kind of. Another thing Lane and I think everybody said, which is funny, is Sankey comes out yesterday and he's like, well, everybody's freaking out. And he's not necessarily wrong, by the way, but he's like, everybody's freaking out about this new system and everything. It just started, And so that's sort of the official, everybody calm down, let it. And then all the coaches came out and said, yeah, this system is crap.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
Sankey was like, it took over July 1st. It's July 14th. It's been 2 weeks. What's going on here? And all the coaches immediately said, no, it's a complete disaster. It'll continue to be, which I think they're probably right. But I mean, he is right technically that it is early. It's very early to freak out this much. That's what we do in college sports now. That's all we do in college sports now.
That's true. I mean, the fatigue that I have, and I can't imagine how, college football, other people out there feel. It's like, I just really don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah,
that's just where I am. I don't you know what? You can't limit people from getting paid for their services in this country. Just stop trying to do it. And, the coaches who get paid a lot of money to do their jobs, they'll figure it out, and if they want to get out of the business, like Nick Saban did, okay, then there's another coach that'll take the job. I promise you.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Speaking of football, we will get into the Titans coming up next. Plus, our man Stilly worried about something that I think has some valid concern to it. We'll get into that coming up next. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode later this hour as well. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The Bruschetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix coming to the Nashville Super Speedway Labor Day weekend, and 102.5 The Game has your chance to win VIP tickets to the IndyCar race. Text in the keyword RACE to 615-737-1025 to be entered to win a pair of VIP tickets. For more information on the event, visit musiccitygp.com. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up here in just a few minutes at 7:45. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I heard Stilly talking yesterday, and we mentioned the quarterback list that came out with Jeremy Fowler that had Jane Daniels at number 5, right? And he was talking about like the situation around Jane Daniels and how Adam Peters, the general manager, went out and made a bunch of signings and brought in a bunch of guys on 1-year deals. And, it wasn't like it was some elite roster, but he got a couple big moves on the offensive line. Obviously they brought in a tight end that helped him a lot. You've got a defense that was decent, not terrible, not great, but decent, and taking over a situation that on the surface of it looks a little better than the one that Cam Ward is walking into right now. And threw the question out there of like, how worried are we about the roster? That the roster is just so inequipped for Cam Ward to have success that it's just going to be really, really difficult for Cam Ward to do it this year. And it's not something we haven't talked about before, but now that camp is here, we're going to get a firsthand look at the roster and what it looks like here. On paper, you're looking at it, and we've talked about this specifically at a couple spots. It feels like there's a lot of hope right now that is required to look at the edge rusher group and to think that they got any sort of chance to get after the passer. And there's a lot of hope with wide receiver right now beyond Calvin Ridley that you're going to have enough guys step up to be able to have a proficient passing attack with any sort of real weaponry out there outside of Calvin Ridley. So what is all that going to mean for Cam Ward? And are the Titans essentially, given the shape of their roster right now, are they setting Cam Ward up for failure? What do you make of that question?
So this was this like a freak out?
I wouldn't go freak out, but it was a question.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's been asking it. I've heard him.
He's been talking about playing somebody else at quarterback for a long time,
Yeah.
like starting with Brandon Allen.
Yeah.
A 9-minute run.
It's just, I don't disagree that it's not a great situation. I think the Nick Suss story that we talked about recently is that's
interesting.
Pretty handy data in terms of. Then again, I think Stafford is a good example. If you are, I don't think it's 100% across the board true. I definitely don't, because I think the Lions have ruined other guys. But I think that unless we're talking just absolute, like you're actually just battering the guy, or you're losing 38-10 every week and it's just miserable. And even then, I think if you have the goods, you're going to come out of that situation and prevail. I mean, I just don't see any compelling argument for not starting him week 1.
I don't either.
Just isn't one.
Yeah, I don't. You can't get me to much of a compelling argument to not start him. I look at the roster right now, and I understand the concern of who in the world is he throwing the ball to? Like, I know Calvin Ridley's out there, but beyond that, like, who's getting the ball? Like, everybody's talking about Alec Iomanor as if he's like already some 900-yard guy in the league. And
I have no idea if he's in the league.
Is he going to make the team like 2 years from now? Like, look, I like him. I was surprised that he was there in the 4th round where the Titans got him. But look, I mean, I've seen a ton of 1st-round picks, much less 4th-round picks, that get on the field and they're not anywhere close to what you thought they were going to be. So, look, the best case scenario could end up working out, right? Like, maybe Iomanor's ready to go right from the jump, and he's really good. And you look around, and DK is running past everybody in the secondary, catching balls down the field, and this offense is way better than we thought. I mean, basically that happened in Houston, right? Like, it happened to Washington to some degree. Like, nobody was picking Washington last year to be as good as they were. Nobody was picking Houston the year before that to be as good as they were. I think there are some differences between those setups and what the Titans have right now. And then a big one also is coach. And Jared spent a lot of time talking about that yesterday too, of like how good is Brian Callahan? How, is he equipped to do the job.
He was just voted the worst coach in the league by something.
I think it was CBS Sports.
This is list season, but I mean, he
was 3-14 head coach for the team that had the number 1 pick last year.
So 3-14 in 1 year. So
yeah, so until proven otherwise, it just kind of is what he is. But like I think looking at the roster, I'm with you. Like there's not much of an argument to me to not play him just because your other options are awful. But I do look at the roster and say it's going to be pretty hard unless some unforeseen things happen. It's going to be pretty hard, I think, for them to have sustained success this year on the offensive side of the ball. I guess what you're hoping for is, man, take your lumps early and then get better as the year goes on and hope you see some improvement that way. Like, it's hard for me to imagine this offense right now going out against that Denver defense and putting up much of a fight based on what we know about both squads at the moment.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's going to be some ugly days. But again, I think that this is not the only way you don't start the QB right away. Obviously, like in Kansas City, it's always going to be the example, and it's worked out beautifully. I don't think that if Patrick Mahomes played as a rookie that things would turn out any differently. I can't prove that, but I don't think so. But they had a good quarterback. They had a good team. They made the playoffs. And so you have that luxury, great. Or, if you have like an Anthony Richardson situation where I do think that they screwed up because he had played so little football. Cam Ward has played so much football. And that's just the way the league is now. The amount of football he's played, he's almost a second-year QB in this league now. I think you throw him out there, and you have addressed the offensive line. How effectively, we'll find out. But you have, they have spent money, and they have tried to fix what has been the worst part of the team. So I mean, the receivers, like you said, are a problem. But that's why you don't play them. I don't buy that at all. Jared from Spring Hill says, so you want to start him, but don't want to play him in the preseason. I don't even remember. Were we talking about the preseason? I mean, I'm generally of the mind of I don't want to get any key players hurt in the preseason. But no, I mean, I think Cam Ward, some preseason series would be fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
The offensive line, as I've said before, I think they need to play a little bit together.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I mean, I don't necessarily want to see Cam Ward in the third quarter of a preseason game. I think there's a risk reward management part of it that you gotta get to.
No one does that.
Yeah,
and there's a reason no one does that.
Right. I don't necessarily want to see that because everybody wants to. I said this a couple weeks ago. Everybody wants to see everybody play in the preseason until one of your guys gets hurt, and then it's why in the world were you playing him in the preseason?
Right.
It didn't matter. So I understand that part of it. I look at the roster right now, and the only hope I have is a couple things offensively. Number one, Cam Ward is so good that he just elevates everything around him, which is what you're hoping for. He eventually gets to when you drafted number 1 overall. Is he going to be that immediately? That's a hard thing to do in the NFL. Or number 2, that all of the conditions we just talked about that are working against him heading into this are mitigated a little bit by an offensive line that's just better than we think it might be. Like maybe the offensive line, they finally figured it out. And if they have, can that mitigate what seems to be a lack of talent on the outside right now, outside of Ridley?
If you can run the ball, you help him a ton. If you can run the ball, that is pass protection.
Yep.
So I think that they do have some good run blocking personnel up front. And they have a good running back. So, that's potentially encouraging. But, yeah, there are going to be some ugly games. And if the opener's not ugly, it probably speaks pretty well of him, them, something.
Look, man.
Because it's a way less than ideal opener.
I'm mostly joking, but this came up again with some people I was around that are Titans fans. Like they were thinking back to some games that they went to. It's I was at Will Levis's first game against Atlanta, and I remember watching Marcus's first game against Tampa Bay. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to me if Cam Ward's just totally awful. His first game.
Whatever. Okay.
This kid's got a chance.
Okay would be good.
This kid's got a chance. He'll be fine. He threw 3 picks in the first game. I don't care. Whatever. He'll be fine.
You'd like to see a few completions.
Sure.
I feel like, if it's it's just underhand pick sixes, and that might be.
Well, we saw that last year in the opening game.
That is true.
Try to avoid that.
Yes. So, but yeah, you don't want if you don't want history to repeat itself, you don't want the exact 4 touchdown, no pick performance.
Skyler says, "What if the Titans bench Cam Ward after he goes 1-6 before the bye, just like Bryce Young? The goal is protect the young quarterback instead of throwing him out there to the wolves. The roster sucks too bad to expect anything positive."
Yeah, look with Bryce Young, he wasn't good, and that's the thing, So, and Cam Ward may not be good. So now Bryce Young has figured it out, and it looked like he was toast there. And all of a sudden, this is
There's optimism.
Very interesting year for him. That turned out to be, sitting him turned out to be good, right? I think it appears to be. So, I think it's like whatever it is, starting, playing, getting sacked all the time, losing every week. Again, like Matthew Stafford got hurt, lost every week, got sacked all the time. If you're good enough, or if you get benched like Bryce Young, if you're good enough, and we'll see if he is, I think eventually you're going to emerge. And if you're not, then we can sit here and talk about all the different things around the quarterback, and it's very important, no question. But, at some point, you judge the quarterback. I still look at last year, and I don't think Will Levis right now is a good quarterback who should start in the NFL. That may change, and people want to make excuses for him, and some do still, about how bad it was around him. It was bad around him. I still think we got to see what he was.
I agree. And even like the situations around Stroud and Daniels weren't perfect, right? Like nobody looks at that Washington roster last year and says, well, that's right there with Philadelphia, right? Like it's not a comparable roster that way. Now it's got some good players on it, and it's had some good players on it, but like it's not who you would have handpicked to say, yeah, Philly's in the NFC title game and these guys are too. It was largely the quarterback in my mind. Like the quarterback elevated a lot of things around it.
Yeah.
And I think he was outstanding. So maybe you get some of that from Cam Ward this year. Again, as we've talked about, it's a very hard thing to do. Also, by the way, I guess I'm just now realizing this. Did you know Cam Ward's older than CJ Stroud?
No, is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so they're both 23, but Cam Ward a few months older. So
okay.
Actually, that's not true. I just totally misread something. Forget everything I just said.
Wow.
CJ Stroud, less than a year older than Cam Ward. I can't add. That's where we're at in the show
fine.
right now.
That's fine.
It's 7:30 in the morning. I don't
July.
do math before 9.
It's July in the morning.
All right, CJ Stroud's younger than Cam Ward? A good take by me. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Our phone number, Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Next spring meetings, a Finebaum Rexrode shirtless desk appearance on the beach.
Hey, Paul, I've been right more times than I'll ever be wrong. Don't worry about that. Let me say this about the great state of Tennessee.
I just hate Tennessee, man. Like, I hate Neyland Stadium.
Did you offer Finebaum a mint? Hey, Paul, I got something for you.
Just come on down to Tennessee, where there's no prostitution. They're all volunteers.
You better not have another biscuit. Tennessee's colors is that throw-up orange. It's not that orange that you can sit with. It's that puke inside of a pumpkin orange. And I don't like pumpkins.
It was my pleasure. And thanks, Joe. And then the server should be there in a few minutes with the lawsuit.
The SEC college ADs to change the name from Southeastern Conference or SEC to just America.
I don't know that I have especially pointy nipples, but sometimes I definitely notice my nipples.
Multiple times you've talked about marrying your cousin. So
I'm still parked out by the lake.
God, it always comes back to the nipples.
It is that time of the day. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Joseph, we turn the floor over to you.
I tell you what, man, I can never escape the nipple. I can never escape my nipple past.
You should have got Finebaum's thoughts on it.
Yeah, right. Well,
how uncomfortable were you when Joe was sitting out there on the beach with 50,000 undershirts on?
Good God,
He's
man.
so flustered.
I'm so flustered right now. So I guess I will use, since you let in with Finebaum. I was going to yell at somebody about the Titans, but it's fine. We can stick with this. I want to say that we lost one great thing. As I found out in the reporting of the Finebaum story, you know, he credits COVID-19 for kind of changing. He wanted to get off SEC Network and he just wanted to be on ESPN, and he kind of has new perspective. He's like, his show is different and people are more supportive of each other, all these things, right? But COVID-19 took from the world the sitcom Bless Your Heart with Jason Biggs of American Pie fame playing a young Paul Finebaum. And it's like the show was going to be based around Jason Biggs as Paul Finebaum and all the goofy callers. Like, yeah, that's a great sitcom idea.
It is.
Like, that would have been awesome. And as Finebaum, he was one of 3 executive producers on the show. And as he said, and I put a little comment there in the story, but he was like, okay, if we get a year, how much money will that be? Okay, this much money. Okay, let's say if we get like 2 years. Yeah, this will be okay. What if the show goes into syndication? He's like, you will own your own island. And it was right there. It was right there for him. It was right there for all of us. And it didn't happen. So, I mean, it's good for him to have this perspective and things like that. But
it's not too late.
Well, the ABC owns it. ABC still owns the sitcom. So at some point, they could still decide to, but I don't know. Apparently, I don't really know what goes on with the world with sitcoms anymore.
I have no idea.
You know, I don't, I can't, I mean, I can't say that I watch much network TV anymore. Like, I don't even know what shows are on. You know what I mean? I watch
no clue. Yeah.
Yeah. I watch I just watched, it was really good. Severance.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen Severance?
I have not seen it, but I've heard about it.
You know, for example, like these are like, right. This is what people do. They watch shows like this, but I feel like there's not that much funny stuff anymore. Like Curb Your Enthusiasm. I mean, you know, that's a big loss. And by the way, another part of the story, the Finebaums were out on Rodeo Drive one time for a little vacation, and someone said, Paul! And he's like, on Rodeo Drive? That's seriously? Awesome. And the guy's like, you need to come. We got a fundraiser tonight. So they go to Malibu to this mansion. It's a fundraiser for like someone a Kennedy running for governor of Illinois. It's RFK Jr.'s house. Paul Finebaum gets into a game of touch football with Connor Kennedy, who is RFK Jr.'s son, who dated Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And he threw 2 pick sixes to him. And they met this nice man at the thing. And Paul and his wife, Linda, was like, oh, what, you know, how you doing? Hey, good to see you. And Linda's like, oh, so, you know, why you were from New York? Well, why did you do like that? Yeah, I'm doing a show out here. You know, I was like, oh, what's it called? And the guy just kind of like laughed and walked away. His name was Larry David.
Yeah.
How about that? I'm just sitting here telling Finebaum stories. But we missed out on his sitcom, and also I'm very proud to have reported for the first time that Paul Finebaum smoked some weed in college.
Good to know. You can find that at the Athletic today, which I am reading
smoke
through right
weed constantly.
That's about like can you imagine those
now.
two?
Must be a Paul thing.
Can you imagine those two, Finebaum and Koharski, passing a bong back and forth?
No, I can't. I cannot, but it would be amazing.
Oh my God, something to think
The
about.
joy that thought just brings you looking at
I
you.
mean, just seriously. I mean, the thing is, good for, Finebaum, lived his youth. I mean, Koharski could probably use to chill out a little bit,
Maybe so. That time of year, though.
It's the herb, Koharski.
Yeah, maybe so. Hey, I mean, I'm going through the Finebaum story right now.
Constantly.
I love how the first quote you got in here is from Saban. Saban's,
Oh, yeah.
Saban's right in there.
Yeah. By the way, Greg McElroy, I got Saban for this story. It's not that hard, I don't think, to get Saban anymore. He's in media now. I could have texted him yesterday.
He can text now.
Just saying.
Yeah, you're not even his quarterback.
Yeah, and by the way, he did say that, and I don't know that I believe this, but Nick Saban said that he has only been texting for about a year.
How is that possible?
I don't see how that's possible. I remember when the Tennessee fan called Saban?
Yes, I do.
Now it was a call.
That was a call.
But still, you you're handy with your cell phone, you can answer a call. So you're telling me that you've never used which is one of the great
keyboard?
Yeah, you've never it's kind of an effective thing, right? In human life to text.
Well, and particularly since he recruited at a pretty high level there. And I know that there's a lot to college football recruiting, but I would imagine every now and then you got to send a text. Does he have a person that just sends his text messages for him?
That's a good question. Did he hand his phone to his recruiting coordinator? Hey, it's
type
Coach
this out
Saban.
exactly as I say it.
Yeah. That's what he claims. But yes, one of his quotes was, "Paul has stirred up a lot of bleep," which is true. This rant was just complete rambling.
Hey, sometimes that's how it goes. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Go ahead.
Okay, Tyler says, am I the only one imagining both Pauls as bald 22-year-olds sitting in a dorm room with a black light and a lava lamp smoking a J? Paul, put on Dark Side of the Moon.
What is that? Who's Pink Floyd? Which one is Pink?
There you go. I just gave you the scenario.
There we go.
Was that a good Finebaum?
That was pretty good. Pretty good.
Paul. Are you gonna pat? Puff, puff, give. Paul.
Not as
puff,
good as your
puff, give.
Not as good as your PK.
Yeah, it's not. And my PK there kind of sucked.
615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. Got a couple of your Titans thoughts to get to, and we'll get back into some college football as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home with a $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. It is SEC Media Days, 102.5 The Game's SEC Media Days coverage brought to you by Brewhouse South. Experience Nashville's ultimate sports and brew hangout at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. We will have more on the SEC college football front coming up here in just a few minutes. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025. We will have Paul Finebaum for you at 8:30. Had him on earlier in the show. If you missed that, we'll have that for you again coming up at 8:30 here on the program.
No THC included.
No additional supplements in there.
I think I'm gonna do for a rant, just do like a Paul, like do that scenario.
That
They're
would be
sitting in
good.
the dorm room together.
That would be good.
Let me know on the text line if that sounds good to you. Some good content.
Al says, Edith Bunker's gout in sciatica must be acting up today. Voice is a little higher than usual. Great show, Jamie.
And especially my husband, Archie Bunker.
Oh God, that's when you really hit that Finebaum, or not Finebaum, the Kaharski impersonation is when you get to the Edith Bunker.
I
level.
mean,
that's the highest level
just-
of Kaharski impersonation.
I'm just thinking about it right now with, if Arch Manning's really good this year, the potential of Edith Bunker and the Archie there could be used pretty well too on this program. Could be good.
Yeah, that is Arch.
Caleb is very upset on the text line as it relates to the Tennessee Titans. The roster is bleep, yet there are people on this station that come up with reasons as to why you shouldn't bring in Juwan Jennings. It blows my mind. They act like we're above bringing in somebody who's productive.
Who?
I don't know.
Name names. Caleb, you're so mad. Who said it?
I don't know. He's gone on a long little diatribe here about Juwan Jennings.
But he's being all careful about some people on your station who will remain nameless. Who? I mean, you called out Stilly earlier. I didn't. You did.
It's true.
I didn't bring him up. But
a rare occasion.
Is it? Oh, yeah. I mean, look. Seriously though, the Jennings thing is. I'm not against it. I don't know that I would be excited. You're looking at Dennis's text. I think I don't know that I'd be excited about giving him 12 a year or 15.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. Would he help? Absolutely. So I mean, I would be on the phone. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, first off, he's got to get traded first. Right.
Well, right. You got to be on the phone with the Niners.
Yeah, you should be on the phone with the Niners
and see if you can work something out. I mean, I'm not opposed to like kicking the tires on it.
No.
But I want to know, Caleb, who's over here anchoring you so much. Paul Finebaum. Finebaum spends all this time talking to a reporter and a nice story, and then all everybody wants to talk about is the fact that he smoked herb in college.
Another outstanding job done by Joe Rexrode to highlight it all.
You guys want to order pizza? Maybe you want to order another pizza? I'm still kind of hungry. Stop it.
Austin on the text line says, I think the Titans are going to surprise everyone this year. I expect the unexpected. Austin taking a optimistic view of the Tennessee Titans this year.
I think Austin has done that before, but that's good because we got to have sunshine blowers. The world needs sunshine blowers too. Not just everybody. I mean, it's mostly a pretty negative thing. I mean, Adam in Portland says this is the Bishop Sankey Titans. Let that sink in. Mark Mariani Titans, Jake Locker Titans. The only difference is we have Cam, and if he isn't special, it's going to be terrible. But can I read this? This is like old from him, from Adam in Portland. This is pretty good. He says, other sports fans say, hey, how did the Titans look this year? Me. Our local sports radio station debated whether Vanderbilt quarterback was the biggest star in the city. Does that answer it?
There you go.
And the thing is, I think Diego Pavia might be the biggest national sports star in Nashville right now. Is that crazy? And it's football.
I mean, Cam Ward is number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. Cam Ward was a number 1 pick. And
I know that
he was a Heisman contender most of last year with Miami.
I know most Titans fans think that like the general public just totally ignores Cam Ward, but I would probably go Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Over Diego Pavia.
I mean, obviously, it would have been Derrick Henry before. You could say it's like Jeff Simmons, too.
Sure.
I will say, though, Pavia, like, he does, like, people know that dude. People know
absolutely.
Pavia. Like, the win over Alabama and all that stuff. Like, he is a cult hero.
That's
in
the personality
college
of him, yeah.
Yes.
No, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's up there right now in terms of Nashville sports stars, which I think, number one, says a lot of good things about him. Number two, kind of shows you the level of play right now between the professional sports teams here in Nashville. I mean,
it's a bit of
it's not
a bit of a comment on that.
Bit of a
Indeed.
comment on that. There's no doubt. By the way, Caleb naming names on the YouTube chat: Willie, TD, and Adam. Apparently, won't know part of Juwan Jennings.
Wow. Okay, so the three of them agreed. Interesting. Adam says Juwan Jennings would be everybody's favorite Titan. Amy's too dumb to realize this and go get him. That's what happens when your leadership is from Texas and not Tennessee. Again, I agree that Juwan Jennings would absolutely, like, the fans would love him. So and there is something to that, right? You don't discount that.
Yeah.
You know, more important to me is what's your production and what are we paying you?
Yeah.
They do have a void. So again, I'm all for checking it out.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb says we're so against paying people, yet we're sitting here talking about how the roster sucks. It's moronic. Yeah, I mean, I understand that point. You also don't hand people money just for handing them money. Like, you have to pay them what you think they're going to provide for your team. Because if you end up just paying whatever to everybody, that's how you end up totally screwed at the end of the day.
Right. Like if Juwan Jennings, if they can get something, again, reasonable. So what was he's due to make 9 something this year?
7.5.
7.5. Okay. What would he, if you put him, just plug him in to this offense, what does he do?
I don't know, because I mean, the other thing you got to keep in mind is Kyle Shanahan is the coach out there, and that's Kyle Shanahan's system. And look, I think sometimes the love for Kyle Shanahan goes a little bit overboard for somebody who's never won the Super Bowl. Like, it's a little bit much sometimes, but there's no doubt that Kyle Shanahan's a pretty darn good coach. And I have no idea what Brian Callahan is. So with this system, this roster, who knows about this quarterback? Does Juwan Jennings come here, and is he a 70-catch guy like he was last year, or is he like a 45-catch guy for 400 yards? Because that's when you get into trouble paying people. If you're paying somebody to be something and they're not that in this system.
Right. But again, I don't disagree in general. Like, yeah, I mean, if there's some expenditure that can upgrade, do it. You know? And again, it's he's got some years left. So it's not like it's Hopkins where it's like, this team is really good and we need to, have a year or two with someone. Like, no, this is a guy who could play for a few years.
Wouldn't you feel better with him starting the opposite side of Ridley than a rookie?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So have some of that, Adam, Willie, and TD. I didn't hear what they actually said.
I'll take Caleb.
I can't believe that all three of them just completely crapped on the idea.
I don't think they completely crapped on it, but I think they were a little bit skeptical about whether or not Jennings could replicate his numbers here, and what that means for his value.
It is fair. It's always so hard. I mean, it's even hard with the Bengals, with Higgins and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's just hard sometimes. And sometimes you do see when you get away from someone who changed, like, again, Corey Davis, right? There's an example of a guy who goes to the Jets. It's like, oh, okay. Nothing special.
Yeah. All right. Caleb says
had a good year here.
Caleb says we don't seem to have a problem spending money on old wide receivers past their prime. Yeah. Let's stop doing that. That's not good. Let's just stop.
In this case, it's not just the money.
Right.
You're going to have to trade a pick.
Exactly.
What is that pick? Given where the Titans are,
Again,
I don't know.
I'm not totally opposed to the idea. I mean, you're just going to have to tell me what exactly does that look like.
Yeah, if anybody says hell no, don't pick up the phone if they call, don't call them. No, then I disagree. Absolutely, check it out. If they're serious,
right?
Like it gets to that point where it actually is them moving him, and I have no idea.
I think you always have to take like trade stuff. This time of year,
it's just a bunch of threats.
It's a bunch of threats. And then by the time camp actually comes around and they're out there, that's when most of these situations get resolved one way or the other. So I wouldn't.
I think San Francisco needs him.
They do.
Given their depth chart right now.
Yeah. I mean, they
traded Debo, and then Ayuk got
back
hurt
from an ACL. Yeah.
And so you got Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings.
Well, by the way, Juwan Jennings knows that, which is why you're saying some of the things that he's saying of, I need to get paid. Like, I know you guys need me, so let's do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Again, I'm not opposed to the idea. I just, because he was successful somewhere else, I look at this system. It doesn't mean that it necessarily he's going to be the same guy here. Doesn't mean he won't be, but you have to keep in mind Kyle Shanahan's pretty darn good at his job. Like, he's pretty darn good offensive play caller, pretty darn good offensive schemer, game plan. And I know that they didn't have the season they were looking for last year. They got ravaged by injury, and we'll see what they are this year. But until proven otherwise, it's difficult for me to put Kyle Shanahan and Brian Callahan in the same category. I'm sorry.
Shanahan? Yeah.
You nailed it.
Thank you. Which Brian Callahan are you talking about now, by the way?
Callahan?
Ooh. If
Kinda
they
like
could
that.
join forces, if they could join forces, it could be Callahan. Well, this segment was going really well for a while.
And by the way, I'm referring to the American football Brian Callahan.
That's the thing. We have to, if we're going to have a Brian Callahan segment from now on, we have to specify.
I know.
Which football?
615-737-1025. More of your Titans thoughts to get to. Plus, a thought on the SEC and what their scheduling could look like moving forward and whether or not it's going to be a problem. We'll get into all that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Adam Vingan has been drug into the YouTube chat. Says to leave him out. And Caleb's trying to nail him down. Were you or were you not against the Jawan Jennings move, Adam Vingan? We need to know. Vingan just said, I don't know what his value is. So we'll see.
Guys, everybody chill out. Got a little Bob Marley on. Come on. Learn from the Pauls, okay?
We'll hear from another Paul.
This is going to endure.
I smoke weed constantly.
I sound like the dude from Family Guy.
That was actually Kuharski.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Kuharski making fun of him?
Yeah.
So we have 3 different drops of that.
That's right.
That is correct.
That was Kuharski making fun of your impersonation of Kuharski.
There's just layers to this show.
It's limitless.
Bro.
It really is.
Like, bro.
What is time?
I'm trying to wrap my brain. Exactly. By the way, great Grateful Dead intro. Speaking of, like, since it's Stoner Day on the Robby and Rexrode program, that was a great pull from you earlier.
Oh,
that was
no
what was it?
Shakedown Street.
Shakedown Street. Great jam for the Grateful Dead.
Oh, no problem.
I didn't play any Fish today, but maybe next
that would
segment.
also be good. I celebrate their entire collection. So you get that joke now.
I do.
Celebrate their entire collection.
We'll get Paul Finebaum coming up at 8:30 here on the program. If you missed that conversation, 615-737-1025 is our phone number.
It's a sober, sane conversation.
It is. It does not sound like the SEC is moving to 9 games anytime soon, Joe. So as we evaluate that, the Big Ten has been adamant about how their 9-game schedule, they've got 9 games. That makes them tougher, and they need the SEC to get to 9 games to evaluate all these things evenly and all that stuff. And why would they play, higher profile non-conference games while the SEC is at 8 conference games and they're at 9? So all these things are up for discussion here. It does not sound like the SEC is moving to 9 anytime soon, but we'll see what the future of that looks like. What do you make of where that currently sits, and how should this be evaluated moving forward? Because if you ask the SEC and Greg Sankey, and he said this yesterday, go look at that 8-game schedule for most teams. There's not a whole lot of people around the country that would be willing to trade their schedule for an SEC teams. So where do you come down on all this? What do you make of that argument and where this is headed?
I somewhat agree with them. First of all, and they're in total spin mode. Everybody else wasn't following Sankey on the, hey, everybody give the NIL Go app a chance. The coach was like, yeah, this is garbage. But they're all on board with the our 8-game schedule is better than your 9-game schedule.
Right.
Again, I think in a lot of cases that's true. I don't know that across the board it's true. If you're a Big Ten team that plays 9 games and you happen to get, okay, so this year the best teams, obviously Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Michigan would probably be the 4th best team. But let's say you had those 4 teams on your schedule, and then you compared that, and then there's other games that aren't necessarily like a gimme, like a Wisconsin or Iowa. They have a lot of good teams, and then you compare that to an 8-game SEC schedule where that given year you get like Mississippi State and whatever. Yeah, it's possible that it's not true, but I think by and large it would be true. But so Pat Forty wrote a good column about scheduling and about this situation, and I think he's dead on in terms of you should look at this like 8 or 9. Let's look at it like 10 power conference games on your schedule, okay? So if you're only going to play 8, so first of all, the SEC does have a requirement of everybody playing another power. They only play 8 games, so they better have that requirement. Yep. As Greg Sankey noted yesterday, some don't. The Big Ten doesn't. The Big Ten does play 9. But what I think 10 games is, that's of your 12 games, you should play 10 games against power conference teams. Now, there's still a big variance in there too, right? Like you can play. I mean, look, Texas is going to Ohio State. That's legit. There's some really good games. I mean, LSU's going to Clemson, legit. But then there's other power league teams that are, they're not all created equal. But it's interesting with these 2 leagues. The SEC comes out of the gate really strong. So 16 of 18, this is from 40's column, 16 of 18 Big Ten teams are opening at home. And the exceptions are Nebraska's playing Cincinnati and Kansas City, which is basically a home neutral game. Northwestern at Tulane. SEC, there's huge games on the road. I just said Texas. Alabama's going to Florida State. That's a legit scheduling, right? But what the SEC does then, of course, they always have their vacation weekend before rivalry weekend, which I hate. And so the benchmark of 10 games, okay, and then this is the Power League opponents in Notre Dame. Only 3 SEC teams are playing 10 power conference teams, three of the 16. The ACC has 12. The Big Ten has 12. The Big 12 has 14. So, I mean, to me, look, they're clearly not going to 9 right now, right? The way they're spinning it, it's hard to believe that all of a sudden they're going to be like, yeah, let's go to 9. So then I think you better make sure people are playing. Like, I don't think it's okay to play, 3 absolute patsies and another power conference team. Now, look, there are also exceptions. The Big Ten, Indiana, they just canceled like the Virginia series and they're for an FCS. Like, they are like, well, we got in the playoff last year, worked out for us pretty well with no non-league schedule at all. And that is where the committee moving forward, it does need to be addressed and judged more harshly if you don't schedule anybody.
No, I agree. I think you can view it both sides. And again, some of this is why it's got to be, the idea of going back to just the BCS. I understand how some people want that. We're not going back there, so it's a waste of time to talk about. But this is why the committee has got to get a better hold on what matters to them and what doesn't. Because we've talked about this on the show. It kind of feels like the requirements shift from week to week on these stupid little 6-week-long ranking shows that they do. And then, something that matters and their explanation one week, the next week, something comes out that's in direct, opposition to that. And it's irritating to watch. But it is like, especially now with how big specifically the SEC and the Big Ten are, you're going to have imbalanced schedules. You're going to have some teams that even within their conference in the Big Ten get the softer side of it, or in the SEC's case, get the softer side of it. Like, look, last year, a lot of people had a problem with, like, if Georgia would have lost in the SEC title game, that would have been their 3rd loss. But it kind of felt like they were getting in regardless. And I saw a lot of people that were like, why? They would have 3 losses. And then you go back and you look at their schedule, and it's like, well, they played Texas, and they played Tennessee, and they played Ole Miss, and they played Alabama, and they played all these guys. They're really, really good programs. Like, I think you've got to look at it individually when it comes to these schedules here. And I don't know that they do a good enough job of that right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you also have to be able to look at it and, okay, so that team, maybe going in the year, we thought that team on their schedule was this, but they become this. Oh, and beyond that, oh, by the way, that team that week was missing their middle linebacker. And I mean, look, they have more than enough time together. And I think they talk about these things. I mean, it's just like the NCAA basketball committee, like I've said, like I've done the mock thing there. And it's like you talk about every possible thing you can think of about a team and about their schedule and about this game and that game. I mean, but you still have to, like, ultimately, okay, we're making a choice. And then you've got to have whoever your committee chair go on TV and take about 90 seconds to explain it, So that's where people are like, it's always going to tick people off. But I do definitely agree, like Georgia last year. And yeah, you could make the case. It was not crazy to make the case for Bama and South Carolina and Ole Miss last year over Indiana. It was not. And it shouldn't just be across the board, 11-1, 9-3. That's just too different. I think they got it right with that. Some people don't. It's very close. So moving forward, if we were in the same situation, I mean, the problem is, like, Bama looks so bad, right? Like the game at Oklahoma, for example. Yeah. So it's like, and then Ole Miss was so bad against Florida. And it's like I thought South Carolina that would have been my choice of those 3 based on the body of work. But, I mean, look, we're going to be, I think, stuck with the committee doing this stuff. I think it's fun. We like to argue. And so it's a great vehicle for that.
It is.
So that's if you're signing up for the 5 and 11, that's what you're going to get. But I do think that, the SEC, if they're not going to go to 9, they better make sure that, like, they actually are challenging themselves a little bit more then.
And then it'd be nice for the Big Ten teams, cough, Nebraska, to hold on to those games too and not just cancel. That'd be good too.
Yeah. No, for sure. Absolutely. If the Big Ten can't just lean on, well, we play 9, so I'm just going to play. But again, that's what Indiana's doing. I don't know that we're going to see Indiana in the playoff. again anytime soon. It was a great story.
May not. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. We'll hear from Paul Finebaum coming up next. If you missed that, we'll have that for you coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. We called up with the great Paul Finebaum earlier in the show and got into Rexrode's new piece on him in The Athletic and, of course, some college football as well. Here was that conversation earlier in the show with Paul Finebaum. Paul, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, guys. How are you?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, Paul, we were just going over the Tennessee quarterback situation. Obviously, Nico Iamaleava, the story of the offseason. he has moved on, and Tennessee fans rallied behind Josh Heupel at that point. One of my thoughts at the time was, it's great that you're rallying behind the coach. Are you still going to be rallying around the coach when you're going 7-5 or 8-4 this year? And we'll see what happens on that front. But what do you make of kind of the situation Tennessee's in at quarterback and where you think this may be headed?
Well, number one, Josh Heupel got a lot of credit for something he really had very little to do with. I mean, the guy walked out. So let's be real. He didn't kick him out. He didn't show up for practice, and the school did the only thing they could. And I understand why everybody praised Heupel, because I was part of that group. But you're completely correct. If Tennessee's slumping toward a 7-5 season, nobody's going to remember that, and nobody's going to care. But I really don't think that's going to happen. I frankly think Tennessee has an upgrade in Joey Aguilar. I don't think he's got the raw ability that Nico did, but I think he wants to be there, and I think he will be a better whole package at quarterback. And I never understood all the fascination with Nico other than the money. I mean, that from day one, that's all we heard about, how much money he was making. But outside of a couple of plays, what did he do at Tennessee?
Wow, I did not realize you were such a Nico hater, Paul. But you are an arch lover, I understand, and I've got to get to that. So I want to make sure I have it right. So you think he's going to be the best college quarterback since Tim Tebow?
See, Joe, you don't know me. You haven't spent much time around me. But,
That's a fair point.
But let me make a few things pretty obvious to the audience. It's July. You're on television, you get asked questions, and one thing I've never liked is boring. So I gave a heater type answer, and now I'm stuck with it. Listen, even my own colleagues are blasting me on national TV, but that's okay. In full context, I probably should have said, I think he will be the sum of the whole part better than the best quarterback since Tebow. No. Of course he isn't right now. We haven't seen much of him, and that's understandable. But I think he's got the potential to be. Sometimes, if you knew anything about me, Joe, you would know that I leave out words sometimes in going down the hyperbole trail.
Yeah, no, I know. We haven't spent much time together. Well, listen, I mean, Paul. So I do have a story on you today. We've talked about it earlier. I don't know if you'll be able to read it or not yet. I haven't been served any papers yet, so that's a positive. I did. I feel like during the process, we got to be pretty close friends, and so one of my favorite things, Paul, of the whole thing was reading your book that you did with Gene Wojciechowski, which was, remind me the title.
My conference can be your conference. Why the SEC? Let me try this. Get this out with a straight face. Still rules college football.
That's right. So I had 3 takes from that book that especially stood out to me, and I wanted to run them by you. I wanted you to rank them for me. Okay.
Go.
All right. 1, Florida already has its next Nick Saban. His name is Will Muschamp. Okay. 2, Texas A&M is going to take over the SEC as long as they can keep Kevin Sumlin. And 3, but Tennessee finally has a football coach with a plan. His name is Butch Jones.
Well, you missed one that was written after the book came out, and that's the day Jim McElwain retired. I said, Florida now has its Urban Meyer. I subscribe to the theory of never be boring, never be gray. And part of that is when you mentioned it in the article, Joe, when you go to work for what you wrote or described as state-run media, you try to keep your job to the next contract, and you can never go wrong being highly positive. But and as you also know, that's not how my career started. So I think early on at the SEC, I tended to go a little bit hyperbolic. Those are some idiotic takes. I'm just glad you never dug deep enough to find out how lavishly I praised Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee.
Yeah, I missed that one. Well, but the thing is, Paul, in this book, there's a lot about Jadeveon Clowney and the criticism that you sent his way, and Ray Tanner, being mad. So you were. There's plenty of pissing people off through all this too, of course.
No, I was on TV my first couple of weeks at ESPN, and Clowney had refused to go to practice one day, and Spurrier called me and just ripped Clowney. He said he's the worst player he's ever had. Blah blah blah. So I go on TV and call him the biggest loser in college football, and then Spurrier comes out and blasts me. I'm going, is this real? But it's also it's all you guys cover pro football. You know how that works, Listen, the one thing I've learned, and the one that you can never go broke being wrong about something. What I despise, and this is what I've really tried to build my career around, and I know you guys subscribe to it as well because you're working at one of the top sports radio stations in the country, is nobody wants to hear a guest say, you know what, that's a good question. I mean, it could be a close game and it could go either way. I think it's a fourth quarter game. I mean, that drives fans crazy. So go ahead and just say he's going to be the best since Nick Saban or better than Nick Saban or all that. And everybody can make fun of you. And 20 minutes later, somebody else will be making a fool out of themselves.
Paul Finebaum with us here on the program. Paul, what do you make of Kalen DeBoer heading into year 2 here at Alabama and the way the stage is set for him with, I presume, Ty Simpson at quarterback?
That is correct. And I think the expectations are literally through the roof. This is Alabama that, once I don't know. I think there's what's the saying? Elephants have no memory, or maybe that's another animal. I don't know. But Alabama fans never remember what happened previously. They've forgotten the end of the season, losing to a Michigan team that I'm not even sure had a starter from the previous year's national championship team playing in the bowl game. He's recruited incredibly well. The real question is, how will he perform when the pressure is on? Last year, 3 times as a double-digit favorite, including in Nashville, he lost. If that happens again, the drumbeat for him will be enormous. But as we speak, which is in the middle of July, I think they have a really good team.
Well, speaking of the coach of Alabama football, Paul, what happened yesterday with Greg McElroy? I'm a little confused because when I first saw his report, I was like, well, if Greg McElroy is saying someone really knows that, then, boy, I'm taking this seriously. And then apparently it's not to be taken seriously. Is that right?
Well, I'll sound like somebody my age. I mean, this modern media is ridiculous. I mean, this is, what happened was, and in a nutshell, I was on Greg's show. I'm on there every Monday. And he said to me, hey, I heard from somebody that really is notable that would know, and he believes Nick Saban is coming back into coaching. What do you think? I said, that's absurd. I said, there's no way, blah, blah, blah. McElroy then agreed with me. But he did ask the question, okay? And he was, and I finally asked him, I said, 30 years ago, my editor would have called me and said, who's your source? So I'm asking you, who's your source? He goes, well, somebody that knows Nick Saban. So it was call it whatever you want. I knew the second he said it, it was going to get traction. And it did. And do I think there's any truth to it? No, but that has nothing to do with the reality of the world we live in when it comes to aggregating stories.
So he is he basically walked it back, and he was on your show later, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were together on the SEC network set, and he was acting like, I don't know why everybody's reacting this way. I mean, 2 years ago, Joe, in Nashville, I show up, I go on First Take. The first question to me is, considering that Nick Saban did not make the playoffs last year, do you think he'll be on the hot seat? It was not Stephen A. Smith. He was on vacation. And instead of saying that's the stupidest question I've ever had, I said, if he doesn't get to the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Nick Saban. And then I continue to say, and he's the one that's going to be putting the pressure, because after all, he's the great. All the headline was, Finebaum says Saban on hot seat if he doesn't make CFP.
Beautiful. And I'm sure Nick was fine with that.
Yeah, sure he was none too happy, I can assure you.
All right, so Paul, just to close this out, first of all, I do want to seriously thank you for all the time, and I mean ridiculous amounts of time you spent with me. And my God, the texts, so many texts. I'm so sorry, Paul, but I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to do. Do you agree with my overall takeaway that you've become a big softie?
Yes, but that comes with age, and that comes with the reality that of a dramatic shift. And I think you pointed it out very, very eloquently that COVID changed me. It doesn't mean I'm not coming in with hot takes, but I'm not coming in with the kind of eviscerating knife that I used to have, because people listen to this show because they love sports. They're not as fascinated by people being torn down. All you have to do is put on CNN for that.
No doubt about it. Paul, thanks so much for your time. You've been very kind to be with us this morning, and we will talk to you soon.
It was my pleasure, and thanks, Joe. And the server should be there in a few minutes with the lawsuit.
Sounds good.
That's good. That was Paul Finebaum on with us earlier in the program. We'll react to what he had to say, and we'll get into the quarterback situation at Tennessee coming up next. An interesting take from Finebaum on where they're at right now. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-1063 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Appreciate Paul Finebaum for being with us earlier in the program. Joe, he had an interesting take on the Tennessee quarterback situation right now. We talked about Merklinger and Joey Aguilar earlier in the program and who's going to start, what level of quarterback play are they going to get this year. And if you ask Finebaum, he says that he thinks that they've upgraded at quarterback and did not understand much of the hype around Nico other than the money, and thinks Tennessee may be better off at quarterback this year. Your thoughts on that thought by Finebaum?
Finebaum usually is right, as we found out last segment. He rarely has bad takes.
Yep.
I got to say, he might have been a little bit too much of a Nico hater. And maybe Tennessee fans have sort of, and Paul Finebaum, by the way, is a University of Tennessee graduate.
He is.
So maybe he's like some of all Twitter, sort of choosing to not remember any of the good things Nico did. His numbers were not great. Second half at Alabama, anybody?
It's pretty good.
Anybody remember that? I don't think he had like 2 completions last year, and that was all he did. There were other times a little bit risky with the ball in the middle of the field.
He missed some throws.
I thought he missed some throws, but I thought he was tough. I thought he was a terrific runner at times. And, at the end of last year, we were like, okay, well, if Nico takes that step to great, then next year could be special. It could be, they could make up for some of the other things they lost. And now all of a sudden we're just trashing Nico. Paul can do whatever he wants, but I'm just saying, I don't agree with that. And it's hard for me to get to Joey Aguilar being an upgrade. That's why I picked Jake Merklinger to start over him.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case.
Well, as I told you, if you're going purely off of the stats, then what Nico did last year is not some insurmountable thing for either one of these quarterbacks. He threw for 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 picks. He was fine last year. But we talked about, even when he was on the roster, that if this particular Tennessee team, with a lot of questions at wide receiver and offensive line, if they're going to be a playoff contender again, it's probably going to require Nico to be really, really good. Like, to take that step from being pretty decent last year to being what they recruited him to be. And now, obviously, he's gone. And I still have the same questions about the roster are there. What sort of quarterback play are they going to have to get to be an actual playoff threat this year? Is the defense going to be as good as it was last year? Maybe.
It'll be good.
It'll be good.
I
think a lot of it depends on Javon McCoy. How healthy is he? If he's healthy, then I think it's got a chance. Look, they were really deep at defensive line last year. Their sack totals were very underwhelming based on the depth that they had. They did not bring the quarterback to the ground with anywhere near enough regularity last year. They were like 8th in the SEC, which with that front is unacceptable with how good that front was. So, look, maybe they're better at getting the quarterback to the ground this year. I don't know. But I still think you're with the overall totality of the roster this year and how young they are on offense, it's not just going to require Nico quarterback play from last year. It's going to require a lot more. And I just don't know that they're positioned to do that.
Yeah, it's a fair point on the sack totals, but you don't just have James Pierce every year. You don't just have Norman Lott, what he was last year every year, right? So I think there's probably a little bit of a step back there overall with the defense. So yeah, the quarterback play's got to be pretty freaking good, and it's and the receiver play has to be way beyond what it looks like on paper. Like Mike Matthews, I don't see any way around Mike Matthews having to be great, pretty close to great when you look at the composition of the offense for them to really entertain playoff hopes.
And you're talking about a guy that caught 7 passes last year. 7 passes, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns.
And look, I know that everybody can't be, Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith, but I do think he's got a lot of ability, and there is something to Heupel not loving playing freshmen. They had a lot of other guys last year, and some of them were hurt, like Thornton's hurt, and so I think this year with the clarity of this has to be like the best playmaker on the offense. I have to feel like they're going to pour everything into him, and you're going to see that talent. I do think he has a lot of it.
Yeah, I do too. Like I think he's got a chance to be pretty good. And now I'm wondering what the quarterback play around him is going to look like. You know, I said earlier, I think the best case scenario for Tennessee is probably they get through camp and they just feel like Jake Merklinger's ready to go and he's their guy. You know, we'll see. Like Joey Aguilar's got some playing experience to him. He turns the ball over a lot. With this offense, does that naturally come down, or the turnover's a big problem? Like that's the one thing you really can't do in this offense. Like you start turning the ball over, I mean, you don't really give yourself a chance at that point. So I'm interested to see, as somebody who has thrown 24 interceptions the last 2 years, is that just what he is, or is that a product of the circumstances around him in App State? How much better could that get here at Tennessee?
Yeah, and it's also like what kind of picks. I mean, the one thing with Nico, he only threw 5, so yep. I mean, that's pretty good. But there were some risks over the middle. Joe Milton, I think they were afraid of throwing over the middle of the field with him. He didn't throw a lot of picks either. You know, like what kind of pick? Like Hendon Hooker, one of his, what do you have in
like
22
total?
Yeah, with 30 whatever. One of them was just, you know, it was a choice route, fade, I think to Hyatt, that Keely Ringo just played perfectly and picked off the end zone. You can live with those. You know, taking a deep shot.
Hendon Hooker had 5 interceptions total in 2 years in Tennessee.
In the 2 years. Yeah. There you go. So, yeah, so I don't know the nature of his turnovers. It's an alarming number. I do think this offense naturally takes away some risk from a quarterback with the way you spread the field out and the way you kind of give clarity on what the coverage is. So, you know, and how good of a runner is he? I mean, I think that's I think the quarterback run element of this, and maybe that tilts it in his favor because I think he's a pretty good runner. I think that's going to have to. What do we have another picture of the Pauls hitting a ball?
I'm just looking at the stats. Like Hooker threw 58 touchdowns and 5 picks.
It's just absurd.
Like it's unreal. And you know, you asked the question at the time, and I still wonder the answer. When are they going to get anything close to that at quarterback again? And I know they got a bunch of high level recruits coming in, and Nico was a high recruit, and they got, depending on where you look, the number 1 recruit in America coming in next year at quarterback. But I mean, that's a high bar to replicate right there.
Titans and Vols fans continue to wait for, and that could be a long wait, the Hendon Hooker level of play.
Yeah.
And the Titans for the Ryan Tannehill at his peak level of play. When are they going to get that?
It's a good question. I mean, you're hoping now.
Yeah, you hope soon. You hope soon with Cam Ward, but it's a higher bar than some people want to remember. Just like some people want to think that Nico had 2 completions last year. I still love you, Paul Finebaum.
That does it for us on the program today. We'll be back.
Smoke them if you got them.
6 a.m. tomorrow. DVD's coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.